I remember reading in the 90s a story about Josh, a young executive in Chicago who had just made it big. He earned his first paycheck and he went and he spent it on a brand new black Porsche. And he was taking it out for its first spin around the streets of Chicago. And as he was going through the neighborhood, so he was conflicted because on the one hand, he wanted to see what this car could really do. And on the other hand, he knew that there were children in the street. So he was trying to be careful and at the same time itching to really gun it and see how fast his new toy, how fast the new car could go. Anyway, he's driving careful, and sure enough, he hears a thump from the side of the car. So he's looking around. He's pretty sure he didn't see any child. He looks out the rearview mirror and he sees lying on the floor next to the car is a brick. So he gets out of the car. He's fuming. He can't believe it. There's a nice fresh dent right in the side of the black Porsche. And out from in between cars comes a young child, and he's bawling tears. And Josh can't believe it. He goes over the child. He wants to grab him. He starts to scream. What were you thinking? Who in the world throws a brick into the street? You know, you could kill somebody like that. What in the world is going on? You're going to really have to pay. I hope you have money at home. And the kid is crying. And in between his tears, he says to Josh, I'm really so sorry. I didn't know what else I could do in order to get anybody's attention. My brother, I've been wheeling him in his wheelchair down the street and we fell off the curb and he's lying on the street and he turns around and he points to his brother that's lying there. He said, nobody was stopping to help me lift my brother back onto his wheelchair. So of course at that point, Josh was caught. He's like, oh, brother with the wheelchair. Okay, so he tries to calm the child down and he walks over and he helps the brother back into the chair and they put him back onto the sidewalk to be wheeled away. And of course at that point Josh does not follow the children home. He knows that there is some kind of message for him, and in fact he does not even repair the dent for a long time, so that he remembers that while he's privileged to be able to drive around in a fancy car, there are things in life that he does need to take note of and he does need to remember. In this week's Parshat Ki Tavo, we read the Tochacha, which is the curses that are going to befall the Jewish people should they not follow the Torah and Halacha. And right in the middle, Hashem says, the reason why these Tochacha, the reason why these curses are happening is because we didn't we didn't serve Hashem b'simcha v'tov leva. We didn't serve Hashem b'simcha. Now, I'm sure that there are many mitzvos that many of us love doing, but there are certain times that it is a little bit taxing to do avodas Hashem. And maybe we'll do it because we know that we have to follow the halacha, but that's the reason why these miserable tragedies are happening, is because we didn't do avodas Hashem b'simcha? How could that be? Okay, obviously it would be a higher level, it would be a nicer mitzvah if we did it b'simcha, but how could it be that we're getting punished like this if we didn't do it b'simcha? So I heard a pshat in this pasuk that it's not talking about that we failed to do avodas Hashem happily. That's not what the b'simcha means, but rather the reason why we're getting the Tochacha is because we failed to do avodas Hashem b'simcha v'tov leva. When there are things that were fine, when our life was going okay, when we were b'simcha, so then we weren't as careful about the mitzvos. As the famous saying goes, there are no atheists in a foxhole. Generally, we are more prone to turn to Hashem when we have some kind of pressure, when there's something not going right. So the Torah is telling us that because we didn't do avodas Hashem b'simcha, so then that at the times that were good, that's when the Tochacha is going to come. The message to us is the following: Hashem has no interest in bad things happening to us. He has no interest in tragedies. He has no interest in challenges. However, what he does have interest is sometimes in getting our attention. Sometimes where we get so satisfied with our life that we get into cruise control a little bit and we get into a rhythm and we stop paying attention to, hey, wait a second, maybe I could be doing more. So Hashem taps us on the shoulder and he says, hey, wait a second, I have a message for you. If we hear the message, so then great, Hashem's ready to return our lives to the jovial and peaceful place that it was. But if we still don't hear the message, you might have to tap a little bit harder. Listen, you're doing something dangerous. You're heading down a road that's not really good. I'm just trying to steer you back on the right path. If we get the message, great. But if we don't get the message, sometimes we need a brick. Sometimes we need an awakening just to say, hey, wait a second, that really there is something better that I can be doing. And perhaps this is the reason why Chazal were careful to make sure that the Tochacha is taking place right before Rosh Hashanah. Is because as we head towards the new year, it's a time of reflection. It's a time for us to think and evaluate. Hey, wait a second. Am I living my life just in routine and just doing what casually happens? Or am I living on the angle that says, hey, wait a second, could I be doing more and could I be doing even better? Hashem should help us always challenge ourselves to be the best version of ourselves that we could be.